Hi everybody, welcome to the December 8th, 2017 edition of Colorado Inside Out Postgame, a special web exclusive production here on Channel 12. I'm Dominic Dizzuti. Let's get to it. Let's get a quick take on a group of investors, including nonprofits and foundations, creating a statewide program aimed at buying and building houses that will remain affordable. According to Denverite.com, the effort is being led by Gary Community Investments with a $24 million upfront investment. Meanwhile, Denver Arts and Venues is creating an artist-safe space fund to renovate live workspaces and bring them up to code. Patty Cahoon for Westward, a couple different topics here, but all kind of doing about looking at living spaces in Colorado. What do you think about either one, especially the idea of having any sort of affordable housing anywhere near the Denver metro area?
Well, the artist workspaces is the easy one. Let's deal with that first. So in the wake of the ghost ship fire a year ago, Denver came up with a safe occupancy program to bring DIY spaces up to code, which is a great plan, but if there's no money for the artists to do it, you're not going to be able to. So they now have a $300,000 fund so people can go through the program to make their place safe and have some money to do it. So that was smart. The trust fund is fascinating. It was announced on Thursday at the exact same time the city's Affordable Housing Committee was meeting and had like a 45-minute debate on the meaning of gentrification and then another hour-long debate about why they even exist. I think, and meanwhile, these independent people, Sam Gary among them, went forward and set up this trust fund, which will be great. The city also has a plan, depending on what goes on in DC, on how to get more affordable housing using tax credits. So I think we're going to see a lot of progress on that front to at least make some housing available to people who just are priced out in the metro area.
David Kopel from the Independence Institute and DU Law School. We talked a lot about affordable housing this year on Colorado Inside Out, but I've struggled with trying to figure out if it really can be done effectively from the government point of view. It seems like a market issue, but maybe I'm wrong. What do you think?
Well, I think that this is a private effort, and in essence, a charitable program, and that's great and fine if people want to do that. There's a long-standing tradition in this country of charitable organizations providing affordable housing, as it's now called, one way or another for people who need some help and the charity wants to help. Of Catholic Charities has long run old age homes, for example, and they're not pricing those necessarily at the market rent for the neighborhood. Harriet Tubman, after her great career as a freedom fighter and a conductor on the Underground Railroad, one of the last things she was involved in was setting up a similar home for elderly people in rural New York, because there wasn't anything. There were some things in New York City, but nothing outside the city. So good for them. If that's how they want to do their charitable efforts, that's their choice, and I hope they're successful.
Eric Sonman, political analyst, what do you make of this, and is this maybe a lifeline for government officials who've been trying to approach or at least address the idea of affordable housing, but seemingly not making much headway? Does it really take something like this? It's a private effort to make some progress.
I don't know if it's a lifeline, but it sure is a nice supplement, or it may even be the main course and not the supplement. I identify, Patty put it well, I think she stole my script on it, because word for word I agree with everything she said on both of these issues, the DIY spaces for artists. It strikes me, just two quick thoughts. One is that's Sam Gary and Gary Investments, Piton Foundation. They put together a broad coalition, so it's not just Gary money. There's other community foundation money, Colorado Health Foundation, and a number of others in this. So it's what foundations ought to be doing, which is banding together to make a market difference in our community. The interesting piece about Gary Community Investments and Piton is they, at Sam's wishes, are not one of these perpetual foundations where they just want to be around forever and they have an endowment and just spend money off that endowment. Rather, I don't know what the technical word is, but they're planning to spend this whole thing out over the course of about 20 years, which really gives them an opportunity during those 20 years to do some bold and rather big things and make a mark. And on the starving artist spaces, we all talk about gentrification. Last week we were talking about ink coffee, and protests like that are easy. I think on both of these issues you raised, Dominic, it's an example of, instead of just standing out in the street or throwing a rock through a window or whatever, do something meaningful and constructive, and both of these are examples of that.
Penfield Tate, attorney with QTech Rock, also a longtime state lawmaker. What do you make of both of these efforts, and what do you think the reaction is going to be from city officials, since they're, one of them is already a city program, the other one being a private effort, and seemingly pretty significant. $24 million is nothing to sneeze at.
I sort of begin where Eric ended. We've got a host of issues in this community, and you can sit and wring your hands about it, or you can do something. And both of these programs are an effort to do something. I think the artist live workspace and the program the city's looking at makes sense, both from a safety and security point of view. You don't want to have what happened in California happen here in Denver, so that makes sense to make that investment. And I think it's a small amount of money to perhaps make some occupied spaces safer. I love the idea of this community trust fund, and particularly with what the Republican-controlled Congress is talking about doing, where the ability to finance a number of affordable housing programs may get thrown out the door for the sake of providing a greater tax benefit to people who already have a lot of money. We've got to see some other options come to the table. And clearly the private sector is going to have to supplant what government does, because government is about to be put out of the housing business at this point. It's a good idea. I'm sure it'll be refined over time. You see somebody like Sam Gary step up, who's always stepped up for this community so many times in the past to try to do the right thing. And this is another good idea. So we'll see how it folds out. But it's good to see someone focused on trying to sustain and maintain communities and neighborhoods and provide some stability for the fabric of our community.
That's all the time we have for Colorado Insight postgame this week. Leave us a comment, tell us what you think. For everyone here at CPT12.org, I'm Dominic Dezzutti. Thanks for watching.